Hey guys, how's it going today? Today I am going to be pressing some patches onto some hats using my new Fusion 360 IQ hat press from Stahls. I'm excited to bring you guys with me, and I'm going to show you guys the whole process and the different type of patches I have, so stay tuned. My area's a little bit messy here, so I have my hats laid out on my pre-treat machine. I'm glad it's a flat top and it's pretty clean, so I can just put these on here for the time being. But here are the options I'm going to be pressing on today. The first one that we're going to be doing here is going to be the 3D embroidered puff patch. These are very clean and very well done, so I'm excited to show you guys that. I did do some testing, however, when I tested, I don't know how easy it's going to be to see that, but I did get a little bit of a crease right there, and that's mainly because I just did too much pressure when switching over between foam pads. But yeah, so this is going to be one I think looks very well, and hopefully this time around I can get it without any creasing on the top. Next thing we have here is going to be, this is the Perma-Twill Patch. This is essentially, I believe, just a printed design onto a piece of twill. It does have a little bit of a reflective sheen, if you can see that in the image there. But it's going to be a very cheap and affordable way for my customers to decorate their hats, but I do think it still looks good, so you don't really lose any quality there. After that, we have the embroidered patches. This one is simply just a small circle, and I think that's going to look perfect on this dad hat here. I'm just going to place it in the center like so. And that's pretty much it. If I hadn't mentioned already, these all have heat sensitive backings on the back, so they get heat pressed on, obviously. Last but not least, we have this faux leather patch. I might try and go ahead and get this centered up, or I might play around with this. Honestly, I think I'll just stick with the middle, but these faux patches are going to be a great option because if your customer doesn't want the premium real leather, they can get a faux leather and it still looks as nice. It has different color options and everything there, so you can still kind of get the same look without maybe paying the price or having to worry about, you know, real leather or anything like that. These are going to be my 4 hat options that I have for now. There are a couple other patches and miscellaneous items that came with the patch kit that I got from Stahls. I think for my customers, this is all I'm going to be offering for now, and if I choose to expand later, Stahls will make it really easy for me. As for the hat press, I have my blue corner here. This is where I have my 2 Stahls heat presses, my flat one obviously here, and then my new hat press over on this side. This is the preset setting that comes with the machine, which is the flex style. I think for most of these, this will be fine. The only thing I think is different is if you are doing transfers, you might want to cancel the bottom temperature, but essentially how this works is this top number is going to be the temperature for the top platen. The bottom number is for the bottom platen. And then pressure and time frame, I think most of them are 25 seconds, except for the 3D puff one that might be a little bit longer. We have everything set up. I have my hats ready, so I'm going to go ahead and throw you guys onto the tripod, and then we can go ahead and get started. So we are ready to go here. Everything is to temperature, so I'm going to go ahead and do the first one, which is the puff embroidery patch. And I've actually changed my decision to put this on just a regular dad hat because I want to see how the puff holds up, and also I was having trouble with the structured dad hat, so I'll have to reach out to the guys at Stahls to see how they recommend doing those. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just use this to see how the patch does and just to have something to work with. So one thing I am looking for mainly is having no gap between the hat and the actual platen. And once we have that, I can simply place this on. And because the bottom platen does have heat in it, I can kind of just add some pressure on it, and it will loosely start to adhere enough so I'm comfortable to press on the top and not have to worry about it moving. For the puff embroidered patch, we are going to be using the 1/4 inch foam pad that comes with the machine. This is what they recommend, of course, and because of this, I did not do this last time and left a crease on the top. I need to decrease the amount of tension that the top platen has. So we're at a 5. I'm going to bump it down just a little bit. Like that, we should be good. I'm at a 5 pressure with this pressed down, and we're going to let it sit for about 25-30 seconds, and once it pops up, see how well it sticks. That is going to be the first one done. So I'm going to put this off to the side. I want to get them all cooled off, and I'll bring you guys back and show you all of them together, but let's go ahead and move on to the next hat. All right, next patch again is the Perma-Twill option with the little bit of reflection on it, and we are going to be throwing that on a Richardson 212, very common hat. These are not as popular for doing stuff with because people typically have trouble either with the embroidery with needles breaking, or for hat presses you'll have this little crease on the top here. So I'm hopefully going to use some of the tricks that they showed me at the expo to get rid of this. But essentially that just involves a lot of using the heat from the bottom to massage and soften the front panel, and then shape that to the bottom plan. We're already at about half as much gap in between. And one thing they did as well is kind of use the top heat and just let the top heat kiss the top of the front of the panel, again, to further soften it up. After that, we have significantly less movement or less gap between the panel and the platen. This is my first time. Hopefully, I'll definitely be getting the hang of this as I do more of them. Yeah, so we already have basically no movement there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Then I'm going to place this on and hope again that the bottom heat more or less tacks it into place. Unless I'm just doing this wrong completely. And it turns out I was doing this wrong. So this is me editing the video right now. I'm going to save you guys quite a bit of time by skipping over the part where I realize that this is not a heat sensitive adhesive on the back. Rather, it is just a piece of twill. And it's kind of obvious when you are looking at the back and you don't see that glossy finish that the other ones do have. But I eventually do realize it, like I said. And so what I did in place is essentially add a heat and bond backing where I can simply just press the heat and bond to the patch and then press that directly onto the hat. So I'm going to cut out a few minutes here while I'm figuring that out and getting that taken care of. So we'll go ahead and skip forward to when I have everything ready to go. Okay, so basically that was a bit of a lack on my end of reading the instructions. So I quickly threw some heat and bond on. This one I'm essentially just going to be testing how it looks. Any lack of adhesive is going to be on my part 100% for hastily throwing that heat and bond on. But now see, as I hold that down, the bottom heat has already kind of activated and held it in place. So simply enough, I'm going to throw the foam on top and then adjust my pressure a bit. And that's at a 1. Just so it has a good enough pressure. And I'm going to let that hit for 20 seconds and hopefully that holds on. And there we go. That one is now holding on thanks to the heat and bond. I'm going to let that cool, and like I said, I'll show you this with the rest. Up next, we have the classic embroidered patch. Obviously, embroidery is something that I can do. However, for something like this that's a patch, it'll just save me some time. I'll make a little bit less money, but if I can save some time and get something really nice and clean, just like they did on this patch, it might be worth considering. So again, we are throwing this onto another dad hat. So let me get this one situated. All right, that looks pretty much good to go. Again, for all these so far, I've kept the same temperature. The only thing I've changed was the pad on the 3D puff, but the rest of these I'll be using the 1/8. This is a little bit stiff thanks to the stitching, but that means it is a good patch. So again, just kind of eyeballing this a little bit, pressing it down to get some of that heat into the adhesive. If I felt the need to, I could definitely throw some heat tape on there to kind of hold it down. I'm going to see how it does without that first though. So it is already kind of taken shape a bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw the 1/8 on there and give it a press. So we're going to go ahead and pop that off and let that cool, just like the rest. So here we go. Last but not least is going to be the faux leather patch onto this Richardson 112. We already did one of those and you guys saw me struggle a bit, so hopefully this one's going to be a bit quicker for me. Essentially it's going to be the same concept. Get it as flat as possible, mold it to the platen at the bottom, and then throw the patch on. So again, here's the gap you typically have. If I go ahead and press this down, you'll end up with a little bit of a crease or a line where that gap was. So we essentially just need to use the heat and mold this panel to match the platen as best as we can. And I think that is pretty good. Still have just a hair of flexibility in there, but that is way better than what we had it at before. So that is good to go. Again, just eyeballing these. Realistically, if you wanted to, you could definitely take measurements and get it pretty perfect, but for these samples, I'm just going to eyeball them a bit. And again, holding this down to let that heat activate the adhesive at the bottom. It's already holding mostly in place. To finish it up, throw the pad on and give it a press. And like that, we are done. So let me get these all together and then I'll show you guys the final results. All right, guys, so I have all the hats here. They're all done. I'm pretty happy. I'm really happy with how these came out and how easy it was to decorate. Like, I mean, I brought you guys through the process. Once you get the patch, once you get the hat, you just put them together and just like that, you are done. You don't have to worry about backing. You don't have to worry about broken needles, foam, or anything like that. So definitely a good option out there for decorating hats. All you really need is the heat press. You don't need an embroidery machine or anything complex like that. But that's the same with transfers. If you want to do transfers and start an apparel brand or decorating business like that, you can simply just get some transfers and a heat press and start making shirts. That's a little off topic. Right now, I just want to show you guys the final results of these hats. I have them in order of how we made them, so hopefully everything's pretty consistent there. First one is going to be the Puff 3D one. Now this one is a great option because I do see a lot of people liking the puff and they do love the puff. When I do this on embroidery, I do charge a little bit extra because you do have to do the foam, get it in place, and the digitizing usually costs extra as well. So to be able to have kind of just a flat rate, just knowing the patch is going to cost X amount, depending on the size, it's really seamless, really easy to quote out customers, and I might just honestly do this moving forward if it makes sense. So as for the patch quality and everything, you guys saw what it looks like. The only concern I have on the top here is if it might peel. But I mean, I have it at a 90 degree from the fabric and it is holding pretty tight. I don't really see anywhere else where I would have a concern about it peeling off or anything like that. So again, super happy with this. Did switch over to the dad hat. I was having trouble with the structured baseball cap, but I'll reach out to Stahls and see if they have any advice on those like really rigid ones, because I was even able to get good results on these Richardson. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's just a cheap hat. I don't know. I'll have to reach out to them. But after that one, we have the twill. Again, this is my mistake. I thought this was a heat adhesive one on the back. I guess it does not have any heat adhesive. It might be an option that you can add. These are just the sample patches, so it's whatever they came with. I did quickly add some heat and bond on the back to adhere it, and the final results are really good. Again, this is one of their cheaper options. So if you can offer this to your customer on the low end to get them a quality hat like this that looks, you know, just like this with the full color and then on the twill, man, you really can't beat that. And then you can start from here and always offer them higher options such as the embroidered and the leather patches. But for this, I'm extremely happy how this came out, and I'm sure my customers will love this. Up next, we have the embroidered hat. This one I think turned out great. The only thing I would say about these embroidered patches that would keep me away from them is that it has to be a patch, right? So you can't have a line of text here, something there. It all has to kind of be together, at least. That's my understanding. If I find out I'm wrong, I'll definitely make a video and correct myself, but more often than not, patches, they have to be kind of just a solid piece. So I'll definitely be playing around with different designs and see what I can get out of these. But for a simple patch, something like this, it comes out with really good quality. And again, as easy as it was to get it applied and decorated, really can't beat this. And last but not least is the leather, or specifically the faux leather patch. This one, I was a little concerned about it, but that's how this one came out. No concerns of it peeling off or anything like that. I've already kind of checked the edges on all of these, and my biggest concern was those embroidered ones. But like I showed you with the puff one, they're on there solid. I wouldn't be worried about the customer's wear and tear causing the patches to fall off. So really happy with these. This is the last one, and that's pretty much it. So I'm really happy with my 360 IQ press. I do anticipate getting some jobs with them, and I'll bring you guys along for those as well. When I get to that point, I'll give you a total price breakdown, full transparency, so you guys can kind of get an idea of, is it worth the time? Is it worth the upfront expense of, I think these run for about $1,500, $1,600. That's a lot of money to put in something and then maybe not see a lot of returns. So I'll definitely bring you guys along for my first order when I do get to that point. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something as well. But at the very least, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.